My family life was very disciplined, very pleasant.
ਸਾਡਾ ਘਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ, ਸਾਡੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ। ਮੈਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਛੋਟੀ ਸੀ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਲਾਡ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਸੀ, ਲਾਡਲੀ।
We lived in a very nice, very big house in north of India in a place called Rishikesh. Absolutely beautiful. Still stays in my mind, so fresh, like it was happening this morning.
My father was Anglo-Indian and he was brought up in Bombay, but I was born in Firozpur, the Punjab, India.
From my mum's side, she was just Irish and Scotch, I think. You had everything there, big houses, servants.
I went to a boarding school up in the Himalayas till the partition took place. All we could see was, the flames where they were burning mosques and things like that.
After that, it was quite hard to get good schools. I was usually more out of school until my dad was stationed in Rawalpindi.
My dad was worried as we were growing up, would we get any jobs? So, yes, we all came to Swindon, where we knew some friends.
ਸਾਡੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਜੀ ਉਹ 1950 ਦੇ ਆਏ ਸੀਗੇ ਇੱਥੇ। ਉਹ ਆਪਣਾ ਡੋਰ ਟੂ ਡੋਰ ਸੈਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਕੱਪੜਾ ਵੇਚਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ। ਕਈ ਸਾਲ ਰਹੇ, ਫਿਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਆ। ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਆਉਣਾ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ, ਪਰ ਲਿਆਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਹ।
ਦਿਲ ਕਰਦਾ ਫਿਰ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਮੁਲਕ ਦੇਖੀਏ ਕਿ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਆ ਹੋਰ ਮੁਲਕਾਂ 'ਚ। ਅਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਫਿਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਆ ਅਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲਰਨ ਕਰੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼। ਰੋਟੀ ਵੀ ਆਪ ਬਣਾਉਣੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ, ਸਬਜ਼ੀ ਵੀ ਬਣਾਉਣੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਆ।
ਮੇਰੇ ਫਾਦਰ ਹੁਣੀ ਮਿਲਟਰੀ 'ਚ ਸੀ, ਲੜਾਈ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਰਲਡ ਵਾਰ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਮਾਉਂਟੀ ਕਸੀਨੋ ਇਟਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੈਕਿੰਡ ਵਰਲਡ ਵਾਰ 'ਚ ਰਹੇ ਅਤੇ ਉਹ 63 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਆਏ। ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਡਿਪੈਂਡੈਂਟ 64 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਰਵਰੀ 28 ਨੂੰ ਆਇਆ।
My husband was a doctor. He wanted to come for higher studies to UK. It's funny, they interviewed him on the phone and they said you can come. I was about, think 24, 25. I was quite young then and beautiful.
Life in Kenya, I was obviously very young, and at that age, everything seemed very idyllic.
It was a happy life. We had no problems.
I think it was carefree, but apartheid existed. Living areas, schools, everything was segregated. There were what the British administration called European, African, and Indian.
Because the British were already in India, what they did, they went to all the villages, to different villages, and they took all the firstborn sons. My granddad was only 14 when he was forcefully taken to Kenya. So the reason they went to Africa was to build the railways.
The British were still ruling there, and I don't suppose they wanted too many non-English people to be too qualified in any field. So the restrictions were there, but they were all hidden restrictions. So that's why I came to England.
We had, I think, well, certainly I did, a very idealistic viewpoint of United Kingdom. The Europeans, as we called them in Kenya, they had the best houses, they dressed the best, they had the best cars. It seemed as if we go to England, we'll probably have that sort of lifestyle.
My parents went to Uganda when they needed people to work on the railway lines and all that.
Quite a huge population of Indians in Uganda, so it didn't feel out of place as such. It was beautiful. However, it's not necessarily safe, especially towards the later times when of Idi Amin regime.
We had to leave Uganda because Idi Amin made an announcement that all the British citizens, all Asians and all that, got given 90 days to leave the country.
People were just at gunpoint being told to do things. With that type of life, we didn't want to stay, so we fled, basically.
We were upset because we settled down there, we had a good job. We had to leave everything behind.
Our things were checked on the way.
It was by police and the army?
By the police only.
Did either of you had anything taken from you?
Yes, they are taking money.
We went through 18 army checkpoints. The only thing we are allowed to bring is £50.
Coming to a strange country, living with strange people, a different race in fact, with no money, no job, and perhaps don't even understand the language. The psychological impact of that must be enormous.
So my parents decided to come to England and they arrived in 1967, and that was a massive decision for them. People were being invited to come from Pakistan and India and sort of rebuild England after the war, really. I remember them talking about all the sort of buses across Iran and Turkey, but also I remember them talking about fun along the way, like the children being fascinated by snake charmers or little puppeteers and circus performers that would be on the streets as they went through.
We had to sail from Karachi, and that was just a few days before Christmas.
They had cinemas, dances, pictures, swimming pool. It was a nice boat, and you had New Year's and Christmas on the boat.
We left in December 1952 and arrived in the UK, Southampton, in January.
We came to UK way back in 1971 on a plane. I'd never been on a plane before. I never wanted to take that experience again because I vomited most of the time.
I was thinking I'm coming to a dreamland. When I arrived here, plane came over the Birmingham. All I see is smoke. Later on, I've been explained it's all the chimneys.
Having left Entebbe, we landed at Stansted, and there were a pile of coats and warm clothing. We were taken to Newbury camp.
The Asians, all 128 of them, arrived here at Heathfield yesterday afternoon at about 1:30.
The main thing was to get the people in here as quickly as possible, with as little fuss as possible, and get them settled down.
After registering, the families are taken one by one to the medical centre for a checkup.
We didn't know where we were going, but we just carried on looking at people doing their gardens, people cleaning their windows and all that while we were traveling in a coach.
The first priority must be accommodation. These are family units.
We have to take what accommodation we can get for these people. They're very grateful for any accommodation coming from Uganda.
We got to a place called Yeovil, Somerset. It was an army barracks which was converted into dormitories.
It was an interesting life coming out from a detached house into a shared accommodation divided by curtains.
Arriving from Kenya, my dad had given me 100 shillings. At the airport, I saw the cashier desk and I gave him 100 shillings and I said, "Can I please have English money?" And he just chucked one note back at me. And I'm still waiting and waiting to see more money coming out, but he said, "That's it, sir." And I realized that was a £5 note. So basically, I started my life in England with £5.
First impression of coming to England was a culture shock. In Kenya, there were people with big machetes cutting trees or cutting bushes. In Britain, late summer, hedges were being cut by machinery.
I saw white people picking up suitcases and brushing the floor. That was a bit of a shock. I'd never imagined a white person to be doing that.
First time I went to Boots and I stood there with my mouth open because everything was on the, displayed and everything. And so I was totally amazed, that you go and pick up what you want. And it was a new experience altogether.
When I got out of the airport, there were some flakes coming down and I had never seen snow in my life. And I'm wondering, what the hell is this?
We'd never seen snow before. So when it snowed, I just thought to myself when I looked out the window, oh my goodness, I think the clouds are falling apart.
As a child growing up, in a tiny little house
2-bedroom mid-terrace, you don't really think of the properties. From people like my father, you know, it was like being cooped up in a rabbit hutch, because the environment, our houses back home are totally different style.
They were small houses, and they were 3-4 of us was sharing the house.
ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਦੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਸੀ ਹਨਾ, ਉਹ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਸ ਸੀਗਾ। ਇਹ ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਪੂਰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸੀ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ, ਬਹੁਤ ਰਿਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸੀ।
There was one weekly bath that we had to go to, what was described as council baths.
They fill up the tub, and we take a bath in the tub, but we clean ourselves with a towel, although the dirt was still on us.
We were told we had to do different jobs in the house. And my dad asked me to clean the windows and brush the yard. And I felt really embarrassed to have to do that.
I lived really deluxe house in Pakistan. Came to my husband's place above the restaurant. It's 1 room, 1 bedroom. Took a little bit of time to adjust.
আমার হাজব্যান্ড তো লন্ডনই আসলা, তাজ বলার উপরে এখন তারা তাই কাম করতা, এই রেস্টুরেন্টে কাম করতা, শেফ আসলা। এর উপরে 3 তলাত তারা বড় এক রুম দিলা আর কি। আমরা 6 বাচ্চা, আমরা 2 জন 6 জন লাগিয়া, তো খুব কষ্ট করি থাকছি। আর অতদিনে কষ্ট করছি এক রুমের মাঝে।
There was a house in Broad Street. I bought this house for £1,100. To have a house here in Swindon, anywhere on those, I just give a deposit and get a house.
If you got a car and a phone in your house and your own house, you was a king at the time.
My dad thought that I had been in England for 4 years. I had become a millionaire, he thought. And he said to me, I hope you've got a big house for all of us.
In the beginning, when I got the job, I was doing 56 hours a week, and home take was £28. We still managed to have everything, even by earning £28 a week.
A lot of people in the West Country are worried about what effect the Asians are going to have on unemployment figures here.
I don't think that it will seriously affect the West Country figures, or to that extent the national figures.
We can do any job which can give us a good future.
The locals think you are coming here to take our jobs. That's why there are a little bit trouble in Midlands, not in here. It was very quiet here, very nice here.
Swindon in the 70s was the fastest growing town in Europe, and so lots of businesses were being attracted here.
My cousins, they were living in Swindon, so I got a job here with buses as a conductor and driver.
16 ਸਾਲ ਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੰਮ ਟੁੱਲ ਲੱਭਣਾ ਪਿਆ। ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਕੰਮ ਲੱਭਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗਾ, ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਪੱਗ ਸੀਗੀ, ਪੱਗ ਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਦਿੰਦੇ, ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਾਲ ਕਟਾਉਣੇ ਪਏ ਤੇ ਪੱਗ ਲਹਾਉਣੀ ਪਈ, ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਲੱਗਾ।
My father-in-law, he used to tell me when other people moved to England, first thing they did, they cut their hair, because people there used to make fun of their turbans. They used to face lots of racism. My husband's granddad and him, they didn't do this because he was a GP. He didn't have to.
March 28 ਨੂੰ ਰੇਲਵੇ ਵੈਸਟਿੰਗਹਾਊਸ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਏ ਤੇ 39 year ਉੱਥੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ।
I never come across any trouble or anything here.
Automatically, so many friends I made him. So many friends.
We were the only South Asian family, only family of colour actually in Yeovil at the time. The reputation for people coming over wasn't actually very good. Coming over to a country that wasn't Muslim, so there was this negative connotation attached to people who did come to the UK.
I think my grandfather pushed my father to leave the village, but also purely in terms of opportunities. We would move to somewhere proper, sort of home counties, where we were the only Indian faces probably for several miles around.
When we were in the supermarket, people coming up to my mother and coming to talk to us because they hadn't seen a brown baby before and they thought it was wonderful.
When I started school here in Southampton, things became a little bit, well, very much more difficult, very much different.
Regardless of where you go, the first time you go into a new school, you feel different.
Mom didn't want me to go to school because in India, the girls wear a suit. And my mom said, I don't want to send her with the skirt on. She said, it's okay, but as soon as you come home, you go upstairs, change your clothes, then come downstairs.
English people, for the first time we saw girls with legs. We saw these girls with miniskirts.
We used to go to school like having an English life, but soon as we came back home, it was proper Punjabi Indian life. Because we were the only Asian kids there, all the teachers, all the kids used to love to come hang around us.
These girls would sort of hold my hand, which I found very strange.
I was the only Asian girl. They were all white students. That was a big culture shock for me. I used to get free school dinners. I never used to have lunch because I was very scared to go into the dining hall myself.
I do remember this one occasion when I was walking home with a friend from school and somebody was walking the opposite way and just spat at me. And I remember thinking at that time, not why is that person spitting at me, but I wonder if my friend saw that. And it was this feeling of embarrassment that somebody else would actually have to see what I kind of went through.
In the school, there was a classroom for Asian people who cannot speak in English, and there was about 15 or 16 Pakistani boys. They every day were speaking on me.
I had to put up with a lot of bullying. So I used to run to school and run home from school being chased by the bullies.
I used to be called names which I didn't understood at all. And I used to laugh about it. They used to call me Pucky or Mud or Chocolate. And I used to think it was funny because I didn't understand what they meant.
Even the teachers would call you monkey or nignog, or they would actually refer to you like that, even some of the teachers. And once we had sorted a few people out, things got a little bit better.
All the kids, whether they were Sikhs, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, we didn't look at them like there was any different,
When I was here, the Nepalese community is very small here.
I felt at that time very alone. I was alone. Then I cannot speak at that time English. Uncomfortable. Always I feel always uncomfortable.
I think nowadays it's getting better. When I came here, it was a struggle.
The Kahaani community wasn't much. I think we had around 4,000 people. There are about 30,000 now, around that mark. So loads of people started coming into Swindon, but they were all scattered around, mostly around the Manchester Road area.
I was born in Manchester Road, in the house of Manchester Road. That was the community basically. The Pakistani, the Bangladeshi, the Indian community, you could say. When it was a time to fast, the month of Ramadan used to come. They never even used to know that the month of Ramadan was here because there was no calendar, the mosque facilities wasn't great at that stage.
The Eastern culture and the Western culture is very different. We are very different society. Eastern society, they want more crowd, more friend.
They want to make hug, hello, hi, like that. They are going, but English people always like a quiet.
In Oxford, I had a lot of struggle for the languages and get involved with the British English Society. We didn't know the culture, what to expect in this country. We were taken to the British Council offices to give a training of British culture, British life, British etiquette.
Most kids my age were having long hair, moustache, so I started growing long hair, moustache and all that.
I said, I want to be like British I want to have a British look, and I wanted to build a new image of me. But one thing I never gave up is my wearing my traditional saris.
When I was about 12 years old, I started with learning to sew myself, and the Indian trousers that we had to wear with the dress, I remember cutting the sides, putting a different colour strip in it, and I wore it, and I was saying to my English friends, oh look, I've got new trousers, they got like a stripe down the side to make it look like it was English.
The friends that I met, they said, what do you do in the evening? I said, I go home and rest or read a book. I said, what do you do? He said, we go to pub and we have a drink. So I started going to the pub with them, having a drink.
I had English A-levels. I had academically very good at English, and I couldn't understand a word that was being said in the pub.
Saturday, ਅੱਧਾ ਦਿਨ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਕੰਮ ਤੋਂ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਹਟ ਕੇ ਪਬ 'ਚ ਪਬ ਸੀਗਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਗ੍ਰੈਂਡਫਾਦਰ ਦਾ ਫਰੈਂਡ ਸੀ ਉਹਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਸਮੋਲ ਬਰਾਊਨ ਦੀ ਬੋਟਲ ਦੇ ਦੇਣੀ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਦੇ ਦੇਣੀ ਪੋਰਕ ਪਾਈ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਪਬ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ
I remember first time I was in my own home in Swindon, I celebrated Christmas. And all of my friends went, you're going to celebrate Christmas? I said, yes, I like it. What's wrong with it? You know, you have nice tree with lights on it, and you have nice food, and you have people coming and relatives visiting you. You have a happy time together. What's wrong with it?
Wanted to integrate into the society. Every possible thing I could do, I did it. My husband was really forward-looking person. He put me to English language school. I found that people are having a Kit Kat and coffee or tea break at 11. So I thought I'll join them. Wherever I go visit, I will take a Kit Kat in my pocket.
When it was Eid or a special occasion and my mum would have cooked some beautiful Pakistani food, I remember always carrying little plates of them round to our neighbours and them being really pleased with that. There were a lot of dishes going up and down the street.
What sort of food would you have at home?
At home, we have these chapatis, you know.
Chapatis, yes.
And these potatoes.
Yeah, potatoes.
Yeah.
How do you relish the British fish and chips? Have you had any yet?
No.
You haven't?
Yes.
I came in Swindon in 2002. When I came in here, I didn't know how to cook it myself. So I used to, for 2.5 years, I eat only one food. Chicken noodles, like 2 minutes chicken noodles. I cooked for like once. I put in hot water. When I cook in there, it is like hard. It doesn't cook. So, and one of my colleagues, he was laughing for me. So how you are cooking? How you are cooking?
I cook in the home our national food, rice, curry, meat, everything. English food is like more sweety type. But we like more spicy.
You could not get food which you liked. Now you can get any type of food anywhere in Southampton.
It was very hard to come across halal meat and chickens those days because in Swindon you didn't have the grocery shop until the early 80s. So we had to go to London once a month. After having the staple diet of the rice and curry, my next staple diet is fish and chips.
Every Friday we were allowed fish and chips. In those days, the fish and chips cost 50p. We used to look forward to it so much. We used to be so excited a few days before Friday.
I born and brought up in India. I thought to move from there, and I got the opportunity here to open a restaurant in Yeovil. When I came here, hardly you see any like Eastern European or very few like couple of Indian families are there. Now if you see like nearly 300 Indian families here.
I opened a restaurant on my own in Warminster. And although in my mind I wanted to set up a restaurant like English restaurant or French restaurant to make more friends with the people of the town and local community.
During COVID, the whole town was closed and our hotel was open. We decided to offer prepared food. We started with the church people. There were different societies, YMCA, and this is a merging of both the societies.
BBC Indian community was formed around 6 years back with the only aim to help the community. We make sure we do a lot of events. We even do Christmas. We did King's coronation. So we're constantly trying to mingle the British, the Polish, the Chinese. Everyone's welcome.
I served in many voluntary organizations and English charities as well as Asian charities. This Al Habib Islamic Center, where I am full-time now with my friends, I started that. I was honored to get 30 years volunteer service award.
I have spent last 50 years of my life trying to improve the environment around me. My neighborhood is my community.
Treat everyone equally. You cannot treat anybody unfairly, and that's the values that my parents have always taught me with.
I was at a barbecue some years ago, and this white guy sort of says to me, do you get to go home often? So I said, yeah, every evening. I live around the corner. He went all red in the face. He said, I only wanted to talk to you about my holiday to India. So I said, you put your foot in it again. I've never been to India. People confuse religion with nationality, with skin color and appearance.
I think my husband faced a bit of racism. He was doing outpatient clinic. He has finished everything. There was one man sitting there and saying he will only see a white doctor. So my husband said, that's okay. He can find a white doctor. I'm going home. And that man said, but there's no other doctor there. You wanted a white doctor, you come back tomorrow.
I had a very elderly lady who was brought in to see me. She came along with her daughter, and she had a touch of dementia, I reckon. So she said to me, you look incredibly dark compared to the last time I saw you. I didn't really think much about it because she was stating the obvious. I am dark-skinned, and that's what she was stating. Her daughter, however, was mortified. I think people sometimes just go overboard with not being racist. They're not racist, they're just stating the obvious.
I didn't take their questions as being negative. I took their questions being inquiry, inquisitiveness about somebody being different.
Cracking jokes and making serious points with humor.
These thugs used to come back from the pub and they used to see me and said, Pakis, go back. Pakis, go back home. Pakis. And I used to say, all right, I'm going back home now.
I don't think I personally faced open discrimination as such. My wife is of Sikh faith, but there were problems because I was a Hindu. In fact, that problem is probably the biggest discrimination I've faced in my life.
Got married to this lady I met in university from Wales, from Wallis in the South Wales. There was some sort of objection to it.
My parents didn't agree, her parents didn't agree.
In those days, it was frowned upon, more so than now.
My father very generously, when I was 23, sent me to India for an all-paid holiday. Ended up being taken out to meet lots of different families. It took me a while to figure out what was going on, and then I realised these were all potential arranged marriage partners. So we met 9 families. Probably about half the girls burst into tears at the sight of me, which was not great for my ego.
It's one of those Indian customs that you don't choose your own wife, your parents choose them for you, or that used to be the custom. I think I was one of the first one to break that trend.
In terms of meeting my wife, she's a blonde-haired New Zealander. We met 35 years ago.
I met my husband, who was an English person. Even though my parents were really lovely and really liberal, we had a difficult few months. It was my dad who drove to where I lived in Oxford, and we were both crying. And he said, I've heard that you've got engaged, so you should have a card. To support me like that, to give me that permission, it was massive.
When I was growing up, like, everyone would be having an arranged marriage. Now it's a lot different. The people who have moved in, say, in the last 15 to 20 years, most of the people are of different caliber, whereas my parents, my granddad, etc., they were factory workers, they were working class.
We were here almost 14 years back, But things were pretty hard at that time. My husband started working for Yeovil District Hospital as a bone and joint surgeon. When I moved here, I knew no one.
I'm really enjoying to work here. To be honest, many of my friends, they're planning to move to other places, other countries. But still, I believe, NHS is a good place to work so far for me.
I didn't know anything about the UK before coming in here. I was recruited by Yeovil Hospital. The staff, the management, they made us feel welcome when we first came.
I can understand how difficult it would be for them to settle in this place, especially if they were struggling with their language or anything.
When we came Bournemouth, I was fully 9 months pregnant for my first baby. After 2 years, we found she has learning difficulties. It was really a tough time for us to understand, and especially to make our family in India to understand why she's different. Because in India, we don't talk about that. Now it is, but during that time, we don't have that much awareness about autism or any other disorder for children. I did a kind of a search, which country is good for special needs children, and I can proudly say England is one of them.
Here, children are getting more opportunities. They can select their own passion, their own choice of what they study.
Their whole idea of a career is either you become a taxi driver, you have a shop, or you maybe going to go and do something like a doctorate and become a doctor. So to do arts and become a filmmaker was seen as just complete bonkers.
I loved sports, and I wasn't encouraged. That kind of hope and aspiration wasn't in the families, because for the family, we are here as an economic migrant, go and help out in the family business.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸੁਪਨੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਸਪੋਰਟਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਸੀਗੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸਪੋਰਟਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਨਵੀਂ ਪਨੀਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਿ ਸਪੋਰਟਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਹੈਪੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਗਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਨਿਆਣਾ ਇਸ ਕੰਮ 'ਚ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਹੀ ਆ ਸਪੋਰਟਸ ਵਿੱਚ
Some of the restrictions and the holding on to the next generation was a safety net for the elders.
I think they wanted to keep their kids closer and everything because they were brought up like that in the olden days. So I think that was stuck in their head. In a way, I would want my grandchildren to be free because I think it's much more better for them to make their own choices instead of keeping them like we were brought up.
Balancing the cultures wasn't so easy. You had to make sacrifices sometimes. We weren't allowed to go out after, say, 9-10 o'clock at night. We had to be at home.
When we were at home, it was an Indian culture. We celebrated the religious festivals. It's almost like the twain didn't meet, the two didn't mix. You didn't come and tell your parents, sorry, I'm going out to the pub today.
I think my older siblings probably paved the way a little bit more for me. There are certain things I'm not allowed to do because of my faith or because my parents wouldn't let me do that, but also trying to push the boundaries a little bit.
99% of the time I speak English with my parents, and they speak 75% English back to me. When they're giving me when my dad gives me a lecture and he gets angry with me, then he'll start speaking in Bengali or something like that.
Since a young age, I've always been quite religious. There were times where I sort of shied away from that with my friend circles because it's not necessarily cool. Today, I can say proudly that I've upheld my culture and my religion, and I'm proud to wear that, on my shoulders. I think that's really important.
Every country has a rich culture. I can share what we have in our culture with our English friends, and we adopted what their culture is.
Even if I don't practice some of my cultural beliefs, I still keep those close to my heart because that's my strength and that's why I'm able to do what I do now today.
Culture ਸਾਰੇ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਮਾੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਛੱਡ ਦਿਓ ਕਿਸੇ ਕਲਚਰ ਦੀ ਚੰਗੀ ਫੜ ਲਓ
I believe I was sacrificed growing up the way most youth would grow up. My dad couldn't speak a word of English, so everything about England I had to do for my family. I feel, yes, I have sacrificed my youth, but having said that, I have no regrets.
Dad always basically says to me, it's not about making the millions. It's just basically that if you serve as many people as you can, then the rewards will come.
I came here, this is my home, I live here,
But not only I live here, we gave our life and we done a lot of sacrifice for this country.
We have a right to be in this country because my father fought with the British for the British.
I'm a Pakistani in here, but I am British. There's no doubts about it. I love living in this country. I mean, it's a phenomenal country. I've got no qualms about it. Politics is politics, religion is religion.
Humanity comes first. Make sure we are supportive to each other and we put religion to one side and become one nation first.
अपने लाइफ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੱਚ ਤੇ ਰਹੋ ਸੱਚ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਹਰ ਕੋ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਵੀ ਸਹਾਇਤਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਚੰਗੇ ਰਹੋਗੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਨ ਵੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਰਹੂਗੀ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਡਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦਾ ਸੱਚ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਡਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ
I think we should share love, bond, and the values of each other. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. All I can say, let's give love to everybody.